Learning how to use low light to your advantage can be crucial in making or breaking your videos. Over the years, I've learned a lot of tips and tricks that have helped me consistently get better results when I shoot in the dark, so let's get into it. My name is Maxwell Kane. I am a videographer and DP based out of Boise, Idaho, and if you've seen my work before, you know that I am a huge fan of shooting in the dark. And with this, there's been a lot of trial and error to perfect my low light shooting. First, let's talk about the camera and the settings that will get you to a good baseline, and once we get past those, we will get into the creative ways that I personally like to shape and use light in darker situations. It is really important to know your native ISOs. These are the base ISOs that your camera performs the best at. Lots of cameras nowadays have two base ISOs, so whenever I shoot in low light, I make sure to always use them. I know that it will have the most versatility in post-production, as well as having the lowest noise floor and most amount of dynamic range. Keeping your noise floor low is really important because most of your image will sit in that lower shadow range when shooting in the dark, so keep the noise to a minimum, and this will help the cleanliness of your shot. Another thing that I always do is I shoot in log. This is a flatter profile that allows for more play in post-production as well as more dynamic range. It is really good for shooting in the dark because you are able to raise your exposure more and capture the most from the scene, as well as not clipping your highlights and maintaining detail in the shadows. The final quick tip involving your camera is to use faster lenses such as f1.8 or f1.4. This will allow more light to hit the sensor, and this will help you with exposing darker scenes much better. Now that we have the basics out of the way, let's get into the more creative aspects in using and shaping the light that we do have. I would definitely recommend picking up a video light, whether that is a 60 watt or a 500 watt light, because it will definitely add a lot in terms of how you can light scenes and subjects. Using things like Fresnel lenses will help boost the added light as well as shape it. I shot this record player with one 60 watt light and a Fresnel lens, and as you can see, it really makes for a cool shot and gives you nothing else to focus on other than the record. So if you are trying to highlight a certain thing, this is a great way of doing it. A big mistake I see a lot of filmmakers making is actually trying to save their shadows by sacrificing their highlights. And this can really kill a shot because you have to think the highlights are the things you're actually seeing. So doing everything you can to keep those intact is extremely important. The way I like to look at it is that it's okay to clip your blacks and let them fall into darkness sometimes, because that's actually how it looks in real life. And then you can focus more on keeping your highlights and your midtones clean and pushing the noise and the blacks down. Comment below if you've ever shot something at night and you realize that you completely overexpose your highlights, because we've all been there. Now we are going to quickly fire into some of the ways that I like to personally light my scenes, whether I either have minimal light to work with or whether I want to use it to put emphasis on a subject or a feeling. I am a huge fan of backlighting because you usually only need one light and it doesn't need to be diffused or super powerful. The scene in the intro is a perfect example because you can't physically see the details of the subject, but all your eyes focus on is the subject. We use the TVs to create shadows and split the frame into thirds, which creates the sense of mystery and forces you as the audience to sit and think on what exactly you're seeing, which is a good tactic to help your audience be fully engaged in your film. When you don't have a lot of light to work with, getting the most from what you have is probably the #1 priority. So you have to think about using harsh or soft light. And if you want to have a softer light, you will lose some of your brightness due to the diffusion. And if you have no light to lose, then learning how to use harsh light can be extremely valuable. #1 is embrace your shadows. Instead of trying to eliminate them, use them as part of your composition. It will also create a high contrast between light and shadow, so use this to create things that are visually striking. The last tip for harsh lighting is to use natural frames. Use elements in the environment to naturally frame your subject and draw a lot of attention to it. In a dark scene, using practicals like lamps or candles can add more layers to your shot as well as bringing in more light. However, creating practicals can help you convey the idea of the scene being dark but give yourself a little more light to play with. I recently shot a scene where the main main lights were candles in a bedroom, but halfway through the scene, the bedroom door would be shut, forcing the main key light to disappear. So using a super small LED panel, I was able to light up a fish tank and make it look like that's how it was naturally. This added a little bit of weight onto the right side of the screen while also being able to highlight the subject just a little bit more and add some more depth. So learning how to incorporate fake practicals can really help you in situations where you need to get as much light as you can, but also maintaining a dark looking scene. If you watch a lot of films, you notice that they usually have a general hue over them, and this is a dominant color scheme. One huge benefit of low light scenes is you can change or use the color temperature of the lights you have and invoke an overall color palette. A good example of this is lighting a scene with just a lamp. This will make your entire scene more of an orange hue, and this itself will convey more of a comfortable and warm feeling. Vice versa, you can use the cold light from just a computer screen to convey a high-tech or sci-fi aesthetic. Another way to get a cinematic look is by using practical effects. A good example of these is smoke or haze, and these will add not only depth and atmosphere to your shot, but it'll actually help bounce light around and increase the exposure, which can help you squeeze out just a little bit more light out of the scene. There are so many different ways to up your low light filming experience, and these are just some of the most important things I've learned over the years. But I really hope you learned something new. Please like and comment down below if there was something that you noticed you think is really important and it didn't make the list. But thank you all for watching, and I will see you in a video next Monday.